Going live in a few seconds here.
All right. All good.
But we're now live. I'm just going to send out one final push, and then there we go.
Yeah, I better go ahead and retweet that on Twitter too, just in case.
Sure.
Actually, I should go on Tumblr and post it too.
That's fine, yeah.
Right. Okay. We good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go, so.
Right.
Alright, so we are live with the Saturday AM Q&A. This is our third episode. We are going through profiling all the top webcomic and manga online creators. And we're really pleased this evening to have Wally Nguyen, who is the creator of one of our acclaimed series, which is COMATOSE. And Wally as well has a unique position within all of Saturday AM because he is the lead designer for everything that we do at Saturday AM from our magazine, which you can see this amazing product if you subscribe to it, as well as our actual website, which of course is at www.saturday-am.com. Again, I am your moderator and host. I'm the founder of My Footprint and the publisher of Saturday AM Afternoon WebX and our ebook line Well Read, and my name is Frederick Jones. And again, we are extremely happy to have Wally Nguyen, the creator of our series COMATOSE. It is a creator-owned publication that he has, a creator-owned series, and Wally is, of course, a really significant player within the world of webcomics. So I want to welcome him, and obviously as many of you guys come aboard, we will make available to have any questions you guys want to have asked to Wally. You can do so via the chat. You can also do so via the Q&A button on the application if you're utilizing Google Hangouts. And so let's just first of all say welcome to Wally Nguyen.
Hey guys. Hey Fred. Thanks for having me. My name is Wally Nguyen. I'm the creator of COMATOSE, part of the main Saturday AM roster. And I'm also the designer, as Fred said, of Saturday AM. And yeah, looking forward to hearing your questions and answering.
Excellent. So, so obviously, you know, for you guys who are new, of course, I said there's a group chat window. Should be on the right-hand side, but it may be different depending on your configuration. Of course, you can also access the Q&A application. But we're going to go ahead and get started for people who will be viewing this on demand with a couple of questions that we have. As your questions come in, we'll access those. So let's start off just right off the bat with COMATOSE. COMATOSE is Wally's series. As Wally said, it's one of the founding series of Saturday AM. And for many of you, you've discovered COMATOSE in Saturday AM. But COMATOSE ran for quite a while before Saturday AM. So for those of you who may not be familiar with COMATOSE, the series, let's give Wally a few minutes to talk about exactly what COMATOSE is about and why we think it's one of the greatest, one of the best series that we offer, and one of the greatest series online. Wally, tell them a bit about COMATOSE.
All right. Just give me a minute to pull up my screen share.
Sure.
Right. So here's our Read Manga page, and from here you can see that COMATOSE, the genre is neuro sci-fi, drama, action, adventure, and the synopsis is Jack Phoenix leads a troubled, antisocial teenage life devoid of any positivity or aspirations. He's reliant on drugs, and this unwittingly fuels the existence of a fantastical world within his own subconscious, within his own mind, where his superpowered doppelganger, which is Traveler right here, with the exact same appearance as Jack, carries out plans of astronomical proportions. So that's the basic synopsis. Before I joined Saturday AM, I've created 11 chapters. And they are all for free to read on our website on Saturday AM at Read Manga section, www.saturdayam.com, Read Saturday Manga. I also have a homepage for COMATOSE, which you can see right here. And on here, there's everything from the story, available chapters, latest release. If you want to know what's the latest thing that's happening on Saturday AM, if you're considering to subscribe. And we also have the latest news section and everything else you can learn about COMATOSE, from products to gallery and everything like that.
So, well, let me ask you, so again, just kind of jumping right into it. So one of the questions I have is, obviously I'm a huge fan of COMATOSE. I'm a huge fan of American comics, which is what I grew up on. Having grown up with indie comics like I'm thinking of Tim Truman back in the '80s with a company called Eclipse, and I'm thinking of Alan Moore and Stephen Bissett, who did Swamp Thing. When I look at some of these kind of alternative comics, I'm reminded a lot, both visually of how you do COMATOSE, but also some of the storytelling aspects. And so, who were your influences when you created COMATOSE? Because obviously, I don't recall if you said this, but you're from Vietnam. You've had a very kind of global perspective on things because you've been around quite a bit. But your style, like I said, as a 40-year-old guy American, reminds me a lot of stuff that I'm familiar with in the '80s independent comic scene here in America. So, who are some of your influences? Where did you pull some of the stuff from COMATOSE from?
Well, COMATOSE it's a hodgepodge of a lot of things. At first, I actually read very few manga, and before creating COMATOSE, I've only ever read Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, because everyone reads Dragon Ball Z. Then there's Blackjack by Tezuka.
Oh yeah.
There is Naruto, obviously, and very few manga actually. Those are the three that I can name from the top of my head. But I'm also very heavily influenced by Inoue Takehiko, which is the creator of Slam Dunk and Vagabond. Yeah. And now his style is what really inspired me to do the realistic cross-hatching kind of style. But also I'm influenced by a lot of animes. So that also fuels my desire to do a more simplistic style. So that's why I decided to marry the various artistic styles that I've seen elsewhere in order to create my comic. Okay,
so yeah, because I did notice, obviously, some of the manga influences are clearly there, but I think back to some of the early chapters, and then obviously just your art style, like the fact that you went from just kind of a traditional art style, and then you evoke some cross-hatching or a heavy influence of cross-hatching on a couple of scenes. I don't know if that was more for the mood, or if that was just kind of the way that you wanted to evolve your style. Like your style in the context of the story across all the chapters that are currently available, you've altered your style, in my opinion at least, about 3 different times. Not altered it, but it's been pronounced in terms of how the story has progressed. Obviously, that's by design. That's why you're doing it. It's not per se an influence thing. But talk to me a bit about the influences artistically of how you're pulling those together. Because the crosses scene I'm thinking of in particular, right before you went into the space opera arc, that was it was so tonally, it felt different, and there was a lot of stuff happening at that moment. I think particularly of the funeral scene, which I think is one of the best, like just purely art-driven pages and scenes throughout any of the stuff that we've done with Saturday AM. But then obviously for Space Opera arc, the art style has gone, it's become a bit more simple. You don't have as many, there's not as many lines. Everything is very flawless. So kind of walk me through like how you've kind of, is this part of the makeup of COMATOSE, and just you're trying to play with artistic styles? Is there a larger narrative you're trying to drive when you do those different styles?
Yeah, very glad you bring that up, Fred. It's true that all these different styles that I'm employing in my comic serve a purpose. In my comic, for those of you who haven't read, and not to spoil too much, but there are 3 different universes or different dimensions within COMATOSE. There is what I call the conscious dimension, or the conscious realm, let's say, which is the real world. and then there's the subconscious realm, which is the world that's happening in your mind, and there's the unconscious realm, which is bigger than reality, bigger than the real world that you're living in. So in each of this realm, you have a different art style. The subconscious realm is a style suited more for actions. There's stark contrasting shading versus line art. There is, it's toned, so there's screen tones, like grays and all that.
Right.
And also there are, at the same time, in the conscious, in the real world, there is a lot of cross-hatching in order to make it look as real as possible.
Okay.
And in the unconscious, the art style will change according to the dimension that they land on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the storyline itself and the way that you're navigating through the various levels of conscious, if I'm saying this correctly, allows you to kind of play with different aspects of art.
That's right. For me, Comatose is like an experiment where I can... It is an experiment, but a very serious experiment. It's how I evolve.
So, without spoiling anything, and then we've got a lot of questions here, so I'll turn it over to some questions we have. Without spoiling anything, would we ever see a painted artistic impression for one of the consciousness of Comatose?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you give me a month to complete 2 pages, maybe. Yeah.
I was just curious. I mean, you're throwing out so many different aspects there. That would be kind of cool. So, okay. All right. Well, so we have a ton of questions, so I'm going to get to them. And, again, everybody, I see some new people have joined us. Just a couple of quick notes. One, I will mute your mics. That's not to be rude. It's just so that we can keep keep the audio focused on Wally, which is obviously the focus of this episode. Let me say as well, want to say thank you to everyone who's joining us, and look like we're getting new people coming in every couple of minutes. Thank you all for joining us. This is our 3rd episode of Saturday Q&A. If you're not familiar with Saturday AM, we are a digital publisher, a digital brand that is a magazine that comes out every 2 weeks and features creators from around the world who are telling original, awesome mainstream properties, in my opinion, some of the best online and some of the best in general that you'll ever find. We have properties like Apple Black, Mythalica Lux Nova, Saigami, Bully Eater, soon to be TTX and Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts, Gatharos, and then of course Comatose, which is one of the founding properties within Saturday AM, and the creator of which is Wally Nguyen, who's with us tonight. Wally is a huge influence on the magazine, aside from having a fantastic and critically acclaimed storyline with Comatose. He is also the lead designer for all things you see with Saturday AM, and so for those of you who wish to be future artists, this is a great Q&A to tune into. So we hope you guys have lots of questions, and we're going to begin those questions right now. So first of all, let's go to Christopher Lawrence, who asked, and this may be a bit of a retread, Wally, but he asked, what inspired you to draw, Wally? Like let's say, what particular act, or how old were you when you were inspired to draw?
Oh, wow. That's... I picked up my first comic book when I was 4 or 5. I was really small, and I was really inspired by Dragon Ball Z way back when. And at first, I read Dragon Ball Z, and I was inspired by it, and I just started mimicking Akira Toriyama style and created my own sort of fan fiction. And that was when I was 5 or 6.
Okay, and so all right, and so going from there, then our next question, just jumping right in from that, is Frank Ferguson, who asked, if you had to be remembered for something in your writing style or your art style. This is a really good question, actually.
Yeah,
if you could be remembered by something in your art style or writing style, what would you want it to be? And I think every creator would have a different answer here. So what would you? And you got a long way to go, because Wally, you're young, obviously. But what would you think would be something that you'd want to be remembered by for your art and your writing?
Well, for my writing, I'd like to be remembered by I don't know, convoluted but very intricate storylines that have deeper, meanings that run deeper than the surface level. That's quite generic, but I'd like to be remembered by that. But also for my art, I'd like to be remembered by as that guy who can draw manga style with really detailed cross-hatched artwork, who is not Inoue Takehiko.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, so the next question is from John Pinches. John, I hope I'm saying your last name correct. He asked, how did you get into manga in particular? I know you said you weren't a huge manga fan at the start, but how did you get into manga, and what is one of your favorite characters, I'm assuming of manga, but let's say also of any comics?
Yeah. Well, I got into manga, as I said, when I was 4 or 5. I got introduced to comic books by my sister, actually, who's now a model. But she introduced me to the comic book world. She bought Dragon Ball Z books. She bought Detective Conan. She bought Blackjack. She bought yeah, a whole bunch of different things. And I just read whatever she's got, and I actually got sucked into it way more than she ever did. So so that's how I got into manga, sort of like a second-hand thing. But everyone has a start like that, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Although not everyone has a sister who's a model. Let's be clear. That's
one of my favorite characters, actually, is Blackjack from Blackjack. You guys don't know who that is or what that series is about, go look it up. It's a classic.
Well, let's just say, first of all, to add on to that, if you guys, and I know a lot of our fans are really young, but if you guys don't know who Blackjack is, first and foremost, seek out Osamu Tezuka-san, who is considered the god of manga. Many of the modern manga that were created, everything from Astro Boy, as well as anime, I might add, because
yeah, right.
in anime. But if you are a fan of manga, and not just a fan, but if you are truly a student of the art form of manga and anime, you owe it to yourself to learn about Osamu Tezuka-san and all the amazing work that he's done, including, of course, as Wally just mentioned, Blackjack, which is a really interesting series. So you all probably are familiar with Astro Boy, which is his first big hit, but Blackjack is very, very good. Our next question is from Amit. Amit bought the Apple Black print, Amit. So what's up, man? So he says, hey, Frederick. Hey, Wally. Finally made it in. My first question is, when creating a comic, do you create it with just specific arcs in mind, or do you keep it open to changes? Or do you set up a definitive plot from beginning to end?
Yeah, I have a definitive plot from beginning to end. It's not strictly, like I haven't written like completely everything, but I have basically the main arcs and the main plot details of each arc until the end of the story, which is a very, very long way away. But I've pretty much got everything planned, and that's how I carry my story forward.
Well, how long would you say, that you envision? I mean, as you said before, you don't have it all like figured out. You know the basics of it, obviously, but things you give yourself some wiggle room to kind of let things move organically. But how long do you intend to do COMATOSE?
Yeah, well, considering the pace that I'm going at the moment, and considering the plot that I've planned out, it's subject to change over time. Obviously, everything is. But right now, we're looking at when you have grandchildren, maybe, or great grandchildren.
Are you talking about me or you?
More like you. Maybe I'll have children.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Well, we'll see about that one. But yeah. All right. So. All right. Well. So. Let's see. Moving on then. Thank you, Amit. Let's see. Our next question is back again to Christopher Lawrence. His question is, what is your technique for coming up with new and unique ideas for stories or even artwork? So let's see if we can refine this a little bit, because you've talked a bit about this, but this is a question I had as well. So let's massage Christopher's question just a bit. What do you find as modern influences that you maybe look at and think, hey, I want to try this artistically? So, for example, years ago, this is in the 90s, but back in the 90s, there's a very, very famous artist. I know you know who this is, Wally, Frank Miller. Who was really amazing when I was a kid. He did Daredevil, and he was just well known for doing kind of those cool, gritty crime books. But then he took his work to a whole nother level when he did Dark Knight Returns, which is a very seminal work. It's considered one of the works that transformed Batman in the mid-'80s and turned him into this juggernaut that we see today, which is hard to imagine considering how popular Batman is. But Batman really became the icon that it did after Dark Knight Returns, which was a different art style for Frank Miller. It was more cartoony, more European influences. But then he did another swing, which is his more modern style, which he did for Sin City. And if anyone's ever seen the Sin City movies, that evokes the style that he did, which he used a lot of heavy blacks and he kind of created the style that was mostly ink heavy and predominantly, drawn by the inks. Now, he was influenced in each one of these evolutions by different things. And so, do you currently experience that, where you see a new technique, whether it's from the world of fashion or the world of fine art, that you then see maybe having that influence or come into COMATOSE?
Yeah, I've certainly gotten a lot of influences from my practice in art school, in my fine arts degree. A lot of it was derived from painting techniques, and which I think is the case for even white manga. But I also take a lot of cues from the world around me, and I like to think that although I'm subconsciously influenced by a lot of manga and anime that I watch, but first and foremost, my main inspiration for drawing is in observation. So I observe the world around me, and then I try to capture that with my art.
Okay, that's a great answer. So that works. Okay, all right. And so now we've got some other great questions here. So thank you, Christopher. Let's move on to we got some questions here in the chat room. Let's see what we have here. Glad I got your name right, John. Let's see. Casman Gamble writes, how much time do you usually spend drawing a page, particularly when it comes to backgrounds?
Yeah, I think we got another question like this in the pilot group the other day, and my answer to that is I don't know, man. If you're drawing a very simple page, like let's take an example of my space opera arc currently, where there's very few, there's little cross hatching. There are a lot of different effects, but no cross hatching. So that would take me around 3 to 5 hours to complete each page. But let's say I have to cross hatch a whole page, then that could easily take me between 15 to 20 hours. Easy. Okay. And backgrounds take a long time.
And before this question comes up, as I'm sure it will, what techniques do you use when you draw? So are you? I mean, I can tell. I mean, I already know the answer to this because I publish you, but then also just I know art. But given the world of digital and so forth, how frequently do you touch into the world of digital tools and such to create your artwork? A lot of your stuff is fine art, so you're using kind of old school stuff. But do you find yourself moving more and more into digital work for your artwork?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Fred, because although my background is in fine arts, all of my comics creation with regards to COMATOSE is actually completely digital. So all of my pages, all of my illustrations, all of my paintings, all of my covers, everything were done digitally.
Okay, well I did not realize that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. And John Pinch has actually indicated that he noticed a few of your panels in issue 12 screamed Osamu Tezuka to him. Whether or not he intended that, but that again, that's great to see that your influence is striking a chord with some of our fans. Guys, we're going to take a slight break here before we continue on and just do one of those kind of station identification breaks that you see in radio, and say again that you are part of Saturday Q&A, which is the official video chat for webcomic creators, particularly the creators of Saturday AM and Afternoon WebX. With Saturday AM, I'm your moderator and host, Frederick Jones, and I'm the publisher of Saturday AM Afternoon WebX, which is our daily free manga webcomic group, and then, of course, our ebook line, which is called Well Read. We are one of the newest, and I hope to say one of the most exciting digital groups online right now. Saturday AM has really caught a chord with you guys, and we are so extremely happy that you're supporting us. We are a digital manga publication a la Shonen Jump. We come out every 2 weeks. We feature anywhere from 75 or around 70 pages up to over 100. We have some of the most incredible exclusive creators around the world, including Wally Nguyen, of course, tonight from Vietnam, creator of COMATOSE, Raymond Brown with Bully Eater, Andrea Voros, who has the comic Saigami, which is huge and is from Hungary, Catharos, which is from the lovely Beverly Tool, TTX, which is from a gentleman named Vertical Fish, which we'll talk more about him soon, I have a comic coming up myself called Massive Multiplayer World of Ghosts, and then, of course, the really, really big 2 titles, Untitled Lux Nova from Mikhail Dingle and Apple Black by White Manga. We're incredibly proud of our lineup of titles. If you're not checking out Afternoon WebEx, you should. Those feature some great titles like Wanted Dead or Dead, Spoon, Shapeshifters, Storybook, and more, and we will be profiling those creators on a future Saturday Q&As as well. As always, on the Saturday Q&A, we appreciate all the questions you ask our creators, but if you really want to support the world of digital creators, if you really want to support the world of our comics, then subscribe to our Saturday AM magazine, which is a single issue is just $1.99. You can get back issue bundles. Every 5 issues we sell for anywhere from $5 up to $7.50. Or you can subscribe, get 20 issues starting with the latest issue, which is issue 12, 20 issues for just $5. It is the best deal in comics, guys, the absolute best deal. Also, let me say that we will have exclusive prints from Wally Nguyen later on this week, so you'll be able to find some great stuff he has from COMATOSE. I'm going to be pushing Wally also to see if he will finally make available his great print that he was working on featuring the characters from Arrow, the TV show on the CW. But you'll be able to get those prints exclusive on our Gumroad account. And remember, whenever you buy prints, whenever you support our T-shirts with our creators, that money is going to them. You're hoping those guys continue to do the things they need to do. So, again, thank you very much for supporting our Q&A. Next week, we will have the Q&A with Andrea Voros, Hungary's manga comics creator, who has created for us exclusively Saigami. August 2nd will be Joey Ellis, who creates a comic called Leaky Timbers, which is not affiliated with Saturday AM. August 9th will be Vertical Fish, who has a brand new, super awesome title called TTX. August 16th is David Yoon, who has the Afternoon WebEx property called Spoon. And August 23rd is Raymond Brown for Bully Eater. If you're just tuning in with us, the Saturday AM Q&A, do know that these Q&As are on demand, available on our YouTube channel, and you, of course, can locate us on YouTube at the Saturday AM channel. You can find all sorts of interviews, video trailers of our series, and all sorts of cool stuff. We will be having some more exclusive things coming up soon. Let's move right back to Wally Nguyen. We've got some more questions for you, Wally. Next up here is a question from, let's see here, Shadowbound Shinobi, who writes, "Your art is always so impressive and dynamic. Do you use a lot of references for poses like stock photography, or is that all come up with on your own?" So in other words, what are you using to kind of help you lay out your pages?
Well, characters pretty much come from my anatomy training at school. Mm-hmm. So that's poses, that's anatomy, and angles just come from a lot of reading of manga and watching movies. Actually, I'm really inspired by movies. I'm first and foremost a movie watcher more than a comic reader. So that's where my my influences for scenes and angles and poses come from. But for backgrounds, I'd use programs like Google SketchUp or even games to capture screenshots and then use that as reference. Because obviously you can sit down and design a city on your own, but then you also have to lay out like use 1-point, 2-point perspective and everything. So that would take a lot of time, and in a more professional business with a cutthroat schedule, you don't actually have time to fiddle with all that. So having tools to help you works better.
And so before we move to the questions, let me actually add on to that, because that actually raises two questions that I think are really good, particularly for some of our fans who want to be future creators. Number one is, what would you say is one of the best sort of mediums to push yourself as an artist? So obviously, everybody who's a fan of ours, who's part of our pilot manga program, read manga or read American comics. My first question is, between American comics, European comics, and manga, which one do you think kind of, like what do you think of the strengths of each one of those? Just one strength of each one of those forms: European comics, manga, and American comics. What are a strength that you would give each one of those?
Strength. Can you repeat the question? I sort of dazed out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, so let me expand a bit. So, like, in my opinion, right, I think manga, like, because you talked a lot about perspective just now. I think
Yeah.
manga gets a lot of things right, right? But the one thing that manga does just better than anybody is the sense of motion. I think manga just, really good manga creators, whether it's Kishimoto or Oda, they're really able to communicate motion, which is, it sounds so stupid to say that because obviously comics are flat, right? But
Yeah.
but how manga creators are so adept at creating motion, really taking you from a fight scene from beginning to end to where you feel every little moment where the characters are flipping or moving or dodging. It's like they capture that so perfectly. Whereas I think European comics, the works of creators like Mobius and people of that stature, really kind of, they're really excellent at being able to capture mood and environment. Whereas I think American comics, in my opinion, just action. It's like American comics. They're like they are like the place for like that one-off pinup moment, like that like it's kind of like the equivalent of like the movie in the '80s where like Schwarzenegger would kill somebody and he'd turn to the camera and go like "dot hood" or something stupid. They always got that catchphrase sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think American comics do that so well, where they give you that like one panel moment that just is awesome. So, what, in your opinion, do you agree with that, or what do you think are kind of the strength, like one strength of each comic?
I think for manga, the thing about manga is that because it's flat, I think they have to add another dimension to it, and the way they tell stories is different. They tell stories frame by frame in manga, whereas for comic books, for let's say American, everything is, you look at each panel and it's like a complete artwork. It's like a sculpture. It's still, but inside there can be 10 minutes worth of story, like a 10-minute conversation in one panel, like just dialogue bubbles. Intersecting one another and just continuing on the dialogue forever. So that's how the Americans do it. They or the Europeans, Western comics do it.
Yeah.
I think they try to capture the environment, the beauty, and the scope of everything. But manga tend to focus on action, the immediate action, the character, the speed, and the sequence.
That's a great point. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, I certainly would agree with that about how they capture kind of their more scope, and I think a lot of it has to do too with manga being something that comes out, to your point, so frequently. So if you're a creator for manga, you don't have a lot of time to draw like a really huge background. You've got to advance the story every single week. So yeah, good point. Okay. All right. So Frank Ferguson has a question. He writes, when writing, how much do you take into consideration when it comes to fan response and/or what fans want? Frank, that is a great question coming from the publisher. Wally?
Well, I need to also answer this question with consideration of the publisher. But take into consideration when it comes to what fans want. Obviously, I do take it into consideration, but I thought first and foremost that if you have become a fan of the series, then you actually like the series for what it is. And whatever you think would work for the story, I would actually seriously consider, because you're a fan who actually enjoy what's been going on so far. But at the same time, I'd also like to take my liberty as a writer, obviously, and to carry the story forward and make sure that I and hopefully I can please you all as readers.
That's a great point. I will add to that just to say, I forgot who asked that question exactly, but that look, as a publisher, I mean, I did not approach these guys, for any reason other than the fact that I'm a fan of what they do. So as Wally indicated, obviously, I think Marvel, I think Dan Buckley or Joe Quesada or Axel Alonso from Marvel, certainly the editors at DC, would say the same thing. It's like, I mean, when there's a covenant when you enter into an agreement with a creator, that you have to respect what the creator wants to do. That doesn't mean, of course, that it's a zero-sum game. Obviously, we have a business that we're trying to run, and so our objective is to entertain, and that's something I tell all of our creators, is that you're first and foremost in the business to entertain, because if it's only about art, then you don't care about how many people read your book, and we care how many people read our book. So you can't, both of those can't be true. On the other hand, though, there has to be a happy medium where the creator feels fulfilled and is inspired to do the work that touches them the most. And because if they're not creating it for themselves, then it will come across as extremely phony, and it'll look like something that's literally just a money grab. And I think all of us have seen movies and music and all sorts of creative endeavors, video games, where you can tell this was just a money grab. Like, they didn't really care what I would think, and we never want to have that feeling for Saturday AM or any of the properties that we have through My Footprint. So that's a great question, great answer from Wally, and let's move on. We have another question here. This one is let's see here. This one is from Amit again, who says thanks for answering his first question. His next question is, he's asking you and I, how did we meet each other, or how did we come in contact with one another? He's curious how some of the first encounters went down with getting the founding IPs of Saturday AM together, considering its newness and its ambitious goals at the time. So,
you want to take that? You want to take that?
I mean, I don't think there's nothing fantastic about it. I mean, I'll say two things. One is that, Amit, is that you can't do this without the internet. I mean, as I said before, I'm 40 years old. I'm very proud of being 40 years old. It's like a lot of people kind of shrug away from their age, but I'm very, very proud of being it. And I think that, I've seen a lot. I've been fortunate to see a lot in my career. I had a very successful career in the video game industry. I've met celebrities. I've hung out with, big-time comic artists, big-time manga creators. So I've seen it all. At least for me, I've seen a lot of it. And so I'm not really fazed about a lot of things, but, when it came time to doing this, the thing that I tell a lot of young people in general, I'll be saying this in our pilot mind group, and the thing I told all of our creators is that, there is no such thing as novelty. What there is execution. It always comes down to execution. So I wasn't the first person to think about doing a Shonen Jump type publication that had a lot of really cool creators in it, and I certainly won't be the last. But where we've been successful thus far has been me being able to explain what I wanted to do and being able to execute the vision that I had. And the reason that Wally, for example, is our lead designer is because not only was I fortunate enough to find creators of Wally's ilk, but the fact that people like Wally, or the fact that Wally himself, but in general people like Wally, that they recognize the sort of opportunity that's being presented to them and they take it with gusto. I cannot tell you guys as a 40-year-old how many times I can think about in my career that major moments in my life happened that I either lucked into, or major moments happened where I didn't take advantage of it, and I wonder sometimes about how my life would be even more different than it is today had I seized that opportunity. You have to seize the opportunities that are presented to you. Not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything is going to be, given to you on a bow, but you have to seize the opportunities. Wally came in with a fantastic series, and I believe Raymond Brown of Bully Eater was the first to reach out to you officially, right?
Yeah. He sent me a message through Facebook, and he just pitched an idea to me very simply. But I read it, and I thought, this is something else. This is something new, and it might actually take me somewhere, so I took it.
And the thing that Wally won't say is that what Wally did though was that Wally saw what we were trying to do and then endeavored to make it better. And I think the thing that I say to all of you guys, particularly who are young creators, is do understand that there is no such thing. This world that a lot of you young guys are a part of is fake. It does not exist. This notion that someone is going to discover you and give you stuff for free is bullshit. That is not real.
Exactly.
Take it as a 40-year-old guy who's seen a lot. It is not real. There is nothing you will get in life that you want that does not come without a fight. Whether that's a woman that you love or a guy, whatever your preference is, whether that's an action figure or a movie you want to see if you don't have any money, or a video game system, whatever it is that you want in life that you truly want will come with a fight. And the difference, what separates those who make it from those who don't, are the people who are up for the fight. And Wally, when I presented him the idea and Wally considered it and so forth, all Wally had to do was simply bring his property to the table. that Wally is our lead designer, having produced this amazing website design that you all love, and produced the magazine that you all have seen. You see how beautiful our magazine looks. That was Wally's internal drive to push what we had to the next level. And so for that, Wally's not only a senior member of the group, he's someone that, you know, is so intrinsically attached to what we're doing that we're honored to have him as part of the group. And again, you all should be really happy to be able to talk to Wally via the Pilot Manga and other things, because the things that Wally can tell you is truly worth its weight in gold. So I say to each of you guys again, you know, the ideas that you may be presented, if you win the test flight manga program, which we'll talk about here at the end of the Q&A, whatever major opportunity is presented to you all, it's not enough that it's presented to you. It's not enough that you say yes. It's all about how much you're willing to grab it, own it, and go for it, and fight for it, because nothing is given to you for free. I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt. But that's, in a short answer, whoever asked that question, we just met. All right, so let's move on. Next question is John Pinchus again indicated. He said you said you were very influenced by movies, Wally. What are some major influences film-wise? Like, what movies do you really love?
That's a great question. I'm heavily inspired by Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction, for one. Pulp Fiction, not Kill Bill, but I'm influenced by Frank Miller's Sin City, both the comics and the movies, and also I'm influenced by David Fincher and movies like Seven, or you know, What's in the Box, you know, that movie, and then what else? Yeah, most of David Fincher's movies, and very few comic book movies actually. Not Chris Nolan. Well, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight influenced me. Okay. And mostly art movies. You know, things that you'd see coming from an art house, going to festivals. You know, those movies would inspire me.
So just on that end, so no, just quick fire things here. So no Nicholas Winding Refn, who did Drive and did another movie called, I forgot what it was called, The Devil, something about the devil.
Yeah, well, you see, the problem with me is that I watch too many movies. So you know, if you ask me to recall from the top of my head which my favorite movies are, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But yeah, Drive is definitely one of them. In that movie in particular, what I took away from it is the way that he used silence and, you know, long pauses and panorama scenes with, you know, just no dialogue and no sound and no soundtrack whatsoever. You know, that's.
So no Steven Spielberg, no Saving Private Ryan.
It's I don't know. I usually feel things that are too epic, too melodramatic for me at the same time.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you notice in my comic, there's very little dialogue in each chapter, which means that you might, you know, feel a little cheated or a little I read through 6 pages of this bullshit without any dialogue, you know. But
all right, fair enough. Okay, so let's see. Casman Gamble asks, has there ever been a time when you rushed through a page because you wanted to get it done, and you realized a few days later, or just in retrospect, that you need to remake the whole thing because it just wasn't up to your standard? So in other words, have you ever released something? I guess since the internet is so different from traditional print, have you ever released something that you look back on and you're like, God, I could have done better than that?
Yeah, well, previously when I did things for free, that did happen, but usually it'll be it's not the whole page, it's not any artistic detail in any panel, but it's usually the dialogue that I had to tweak, you know, in order to make something, you know, anything sound better than it was before. And obviously because I'm not a native English speaker, so, you know, writing dialogue, you know, is a really hard process for me. But when it comes to art, although, you know, sometimes I might feel dissatisfied with what I've drawn, but, you know, after a long time, you know, or after looking at that page over and over again, I'd grow to be okay with it, and I think that's better than actually redrawing your page, because the thing is, you're always going to improve, right? Yeah. And if you get caught in the loop of remaking your stuff, you're never going to get out of it.
That's such well said, very well said. Christopher Lawrence asks, how do you balance your daily work with manga? Do you use a schedule to keep yourself on track?
That's actually a good question. I have quite a few things going on, but you know, I always set a target for myself. Like, let's say Saturday AM releases every 2 weeks, then at the first couple of days of the first week would be used to write my script. Then all the days after that until the first day of the week of release, I'd be working on my chapter, and I'll aim to do 1 or 2 pages a day, so that when there's anything that that comes up within those 2 weeks, then I can afford to take a day off without actually worrying about not finishing my chapter. But from Thursday onwards to the release on Saturday, everything will be focused on pumping out the issue, on designing the issue and putting in the content.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's a great question. Amit asked, Wally, have any of the other Saturday AM creators influenced you or your way of working? Have you developed friendships or professional relationships amongst the creators? Has this changed you in any way, as you can tell?
Story-wise, not yet.
Sorry, Wally.
Sorry, what?
I love that question. It's like, has it changed you at all? I'm thinking, Wally's a better person. I'm like, someone's like, are you a better person at so? So I was like, yeah, I guess.
Oh, I like to think I've improved you all.
That's right.
Well, so far, storytelling-wise or art-wise, not yet. But I've developed friendship with pretty much everyone on the team. We work very closely, especially near the deadline. And I'm particularly good friends with Ray and Fred here, and I chat with White once in a while. You know how White is. And yeah, everyone on the team's a good friend.
That's a great answer. Casman Gamble asks, I'm sorry, not Casman. Casman, I'll come to you in just a moment. John asked a great question, so I want to get to that first because it ties into what we just talked about 2 questions ago. He says, do you find that your workload, and I think I know the answer to this, that's why I'm curious to hear your answer, but do you think your workload has increased since joining Saturday AM?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, a whole lot. It's no fun and games when you join Saturday AM and you confine yourself to a work schedule of a chapter every 2 weeks. And on top of that, I have like web design duties and issue design duties, so that pretty much takes up the entire 2 weeks. It's just comic work, and that's all of my nights and most of my afternoons.
Yeah, eventually, guys, we'll be looking for people who would like to help with Wally. So if any of you guys are huge Adobe Photoshop crazy and want to learn from one of the best guys in the business, we may be looking at that at some point. Casman Gamble asked, when you draw digitally, is it with a Wacom? Is it with a Wacom tablet or another type of tablet?
It's Wacom. Yeah, it's a 4-year-old bamboo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tiny bamboo. Look at this. Look at this. It's this one. It's this one.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Frank Ferguson asked, what kind of methods do you use to improve your art? Do you just focus on what you need to do that issue, or do you practice overall to cover all areas, or do you not practice much anymore? So so like in other words, so just to refine the question a bit, do you find yourself with more free time? Obviously, because your schedule's gotten busier, as you indicated. Do you find yourself with more free time to just spend on exploring art and expanding your repertoire, or are you just basically doing that via the nature of the work being so consistent? Obviously, we have those months off after every 5 issues, but walk through that question a bit.
Yeah, well, nowadays, obviously, I don't have time to just sit down and do a study of like a fan or like a teacup, but obviously, I believe that having less time to do practice actually means that I have to put more effort into doing my pages, because that essentially is practice, and I always have to drive myself to make my pages better. and that's my inner drive, and that pushes me to actually become better at making my pages without actually doing the so-called practice.
That makes sense. Okay. Um, let's see here. Oh, John's just making a statement. He's just saying, "Keep up the good work, man." That's right. Yeah, that right there proves that you don't need the most expensive tools to make great manga. When you showed your Wacom tablet, so that's very cool. Okay. So guys, we're coming up on our at 10 o'clock. We will be going for about another 15 minutes. I will have the commentary regarding the test flight package, basically the rules, which will then be uploaded to the website probably sometime Sunday or Monday. So again, if you're watching this, you're getting the information first, because it's easier to state it orally than to actually put it in the system. So do prepare your final questions, and basically within the next couple of minutes, I'll break and do the final piece on the test flight, and then we'll have our very last few questions that we'll ask before we end this great episode here. So thanks again for everyone who's joining us. Remember, you can access questions for Wally via the chat window or the Q&A app if you've got that open on your Google Hangouts. Again, my name is Frederick Jones, publisher of Saturday AM, moderating this chat with Wally Nguyen for our third episode of Saturday Q&A. And of course, if you are not following us regularly, please do so. You can follow our fan page at facebook.com/SaturdayAM. You can go to our website and get information from www.saturday-am.com. And of course, we would love for you to subscribe to our magazine. That is 70 to 100 pages or more every issue. We come out every 2 weeks. We feature creators from around the globe, including Wally Nguyen from Vietnam with his critically acclaimed manga COMATOSE. We also have Bullet Eater, Apple Black, Mythalka Lux Nova, the upcoming TTX, Catharos, The Shattered World from the fantastic Beverly Toole, Saigami from the lovely Andrea Voros, and then I have a little book that will be coming soon, we'll be talking about shortly, called Massively Multiplayer World of Ghosts. And we have even more titles coming with this RDM as well, so definitely stay tuned. $5, best deal in comic books, to get you 20 issues a year, and then of course you can buy back issues either individually or via our season bundles, which is every 5 issues we do a season bundle. So thank you for your support, and let's go to a couple more questions before I break for test flight.
All right.
We've got 2 more questions here. Let's see here. Kazmi, go ahead.
John has a question for any advice for the test flight hopefuls. So let's leave that to the end.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Okay, Kazman asked about the tablet. How does it feel when you're drawing with that tablet, meaning that you're looking at the computer screen while drawing on the blank tablet? I just think it's weird not to see right in front of the screen. Explain that process, for people who've never actually used a digital tablet, what that feels like.
Yeah, well, like with anything, there's a learning curve. Everything has a learning curve, and at first it feels a little weird not having any friction on your drawing surface, and you're not looking right at the thing you're drawing. But over time you get used to it, and you get used to looking at the screen as your paper and looking at the pointer on the screen as your pen. So less and less it becomes it becomes more and more like a natural an instinct to draw, more than like you don't actually have to think about what you're drawing anymore. You just do it, and then you look at the result on screen. So it's a lot of practice will get you familiarized with your tablet.
Okay, and then we have a question here again from Frank asking, what programs do you use to create your comics? And this was actually what I was going to ask you earlier when you said that you create most of your stuff digitally. What programs are you using for that?
Just Photoshop. Just Photoshop.
Are you a fan of Manga Studio? Do you find anything with that?
Well, I do have Manga Studio. I do have Paint.net, and I have Paint Tool Sci, but I just find Photoshop, the least time-consuming for me, because I've had so many years to get acquainted with it, and it's got so many plugins and add-ons and things that I can install, and it's just foolproof. It has a very foolproof interface. Manga Studio, I find it a little harder to use, and a little restricting when it comes to drawing digitally.
Yeah, I've obviously not used Manga Studio myself. I'm not, I'm not on that particular level. But I've heard some people swear by it and some people haven't. So I guess at some point we'll get around to doing like an actual review for it. Ahmed has, I think, the last question before we talk about test flight. And again, Ahmed asked another great question. He says, Comatose seems to have a very mature feel to it. Would you say it is psychologically more heavily influenced psychologically, both for you to create it for your audience, or do you believe it's easy enough to read while still maintaining its mature air? How do you answer that?
Well, it's actually very, I think it's easy to read if you just read it and don't read into it, because Comatose is structured in such a way that you follow the events. So even if you don't think, you can just follow the events and eventually it'll play out. But I do have a lot of social commentary and a lot of things that I see around me, and things that happen in my in my thought process that I put into my pages and put into my plot lines. So definitely, I think it's a more grounded project. So you might say it's more mature, or you might say it's more grounded, but yeah, it's certainly more realistic in its themes.
That's a really good answer. Okay, so Kida Taku, you've got a question there. We'll be getting to that shortly here. We only have a few minutes left, everyone, so of course get your final questions in. Please do not ask a ton of questions about the test flight program for our pilot manga. We will address those in the pilot manga. That's the place for that. But obviously we do have one question from Frank, and of course if there's another question or two you all want to ask, please do so. But definitely more questions for Wally, so when we wrap up we can have a few rapid-fire questions for Wally before we finish up. So for those of you who are joining us and aren't familiar exactly with what pilot manga is, what we've determined is that, as you all know, first and foremost, we're on a mission with Saturday AM. Our objective is to make webcomics an art form that is respected. Right now, webcomics are being created by people, including many of you, from around the world, and very few people get paid for it. Just about no one makes a living off of it, and more importantly, the companies like Marvel, DC, Shueisha, Kodansha, very few of them actually look at webcomics as a source of real creative input. They're justified in doing that, by the way, because many of the creators who create webcomics don't put themselves out there. They don't treat their material as being something significant. They treat it kind of like a hobby or an afterthought. There's a lot of Dragon Ball Z ripoffs or Bleach ripoffs and things like that. And so, we basically are cursed because we've put ourselves in this position. With Saturday AM, we don't believe that. We believe that the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the next Iron Man, the next Pokemon, the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Already exists, and it exists because people like you are creating it. And so when I created this company and created the magazine Saturday AM, I found creators who, first of all, have properties that I believe are already to be anime. They're already set to be video games. They're already set to be action figures. They're that good. They're mainstream already. And so we put them together because we wanted to create properties that were significant, that could be appreciated around the globe, were new ideas. They weren't retreads of things like Naruto or Bleach or Dragon Ball. And I'm bringing to bear all my experience to take properties like Yu-Gi-Oh! And make them very successful in terms of things that you buy. We ask you to buy our products. We don't have our products out there for free. Afternoon WebX, of course, is free daily webcomics, but Saturday AM is not. If you get to the realm of Saturday AM, you are in that realm because people appreciate what you do. They see the quality and effort of what you do. They see that you're at a higher level of production values than the average webcomic creator, and therefore people pay for that. People pay $1.99 per issue, or they pay $5 for a subscription for the whole year, or they pay $5 for every 5 back issues, or $7.50 for back issues. So, we think that we have created a really strong apparatus, and many of you support that. They say that people of your generation, a lot of the young creators, you guys don't appreciate good content. You think you're supposed to get it for free. But I'm happy to say that for Saturday AM, you all have embraced what we're trying to do, and many of you have taken it upon yourselves to support us by buying T-shirts and prints and things of that nature. But many of you want to be a part of Saturday AM, and so we have decided to create this pilot manga program. So for those of you who want to join the pilot manga program, go to our Facebook fan page and you can find a link for the Pilot Manga program in there, or you can just go to www.saturday-am.com and scroll to the bottom of the page, and you will see a link for Pilot Manga. It's next to Terms and Conditions and Privacy Statement. You click that Pilot Manga, and it'll take you automatically to the Facebook group. Now, the Facebook group is free to join, but it's not anybody joins. You have to apply to be a member of the Pilot Manga group, and that's our way of creating a group or community of people who are serious about making comics. This is not a place for you if you are a fan of Naruto and you want to talk about how awesome that last chapter was or how crappy Kishimoto is. That's not the place. We're not your fanboy haven for that. We are a place for creators who are serious, who want to really learn about techniques from people like Wally. They want to see what they can do to improve their work. They want to get real information from people like myself who've actually produced content. They want to learn the real things necessary, the real tools necessary to take it to the next level, to hopefully make a career at creating comics. So because of that fact, every month if you join the Pilot Manga program, we will be doing something called Test Flight. And of course you get the metaphor there, Pilot Manga, Test Flight. Every month we will choose the best test flight from any upcoming creator who's in our Pilot Manga program. There will be rules that change every single month, and it will be judged by judges who change every single month. So if you're thinking that, oh, okay, well, I didn't get it this month, I'll get it next month, then you're sadly mistaken. As we said before, this is work. This is effort. This is not a fan club. When you join the Pilot Manga program, if you endeavor to be part of Saturday AM, you endeavor to be a part of something that is about work and effort. So as a result of that, this month's test flight rules are: you will pitch us an original series, and you will do that every month, frankly. This is all about original ideas. It's not about, like you're not going to pitch us a new Apple Black story. So you're going to pitch us an original idea. The things that we ask for is a cover image. So give us an image that would be a cover so we can see how good you are, just straight, exciting, illustrative content. The second thing that we'll expect will be character designs for 3 of your main characters. It could be 2 hero characters and a villain. It could be 3 of the hero characters. It could be a side character and a hero character, whatever. One of those character designs must be a turnaround. So if you're not familiar with turnarounds, certainly you can ask that question in the Pilot Manga group and we'll talk about them. But turnaround is a serious technique that all of you need to be familiar with. We also will ask for a 2-page sequential artwork. Now, if you don't know what sequential is, drawing a picture does not make you an artist. Telling a comic story does. That means panel to panel in a single page, tell me a story. One of those sequential pages must not have any action on it whatsoever. So if you want to have 2 characters talking at a coffee shop, then that's what you produce. One of those sequential pages will have action in it. So if you want to do a kick down, a knockdown, kick-ass action fight between your hero and the bad guy, then so be it. And that is, oh, I'm sorry, and then 1-page proposal. So I want a 1-page written proposal from you that features your pitch for your series. And if you're not familiar with pitch, join the Pilot Manga program and read my series that I've got up there for writers called Writer's Logic. That'll tell you all about the pitch. I want a single pitch. On that 1-page proposal also will be a couple of data points that I will reveal when we upload the information onto the Pilot Manga site. And it'll talk about how I want to know who you think your target audience is, a paragraph synopsis of what the actual comic story is, and your first 2 arcs. I want those defined. I want to know exactly what those arcs are about, including who the main characters are. Tell me who the characters are, what makes them tick, what their powers are, things like that. So that's the test flight information for this month, meaning that today is the 18th. You will have, essentially, we'll have all the rules up there no later than the 20th. And when the 20th hits and all the rules are up on the Pilot Manga site, you will have, I believe, 11 days to produce all this material. Obviously, by being a part of this Q&A, you may have a bit of a jump on them, maybe, but this is work. There is no free rides. If you think that your friends tell you you're a good artist, trust me, that will not be enough to help you with this. If you really want to be part of Saturday AM, this is what it takes. So, hopefully you all have that information. Again, if you have questions, you can posit some of those questions here in the Q&A and chat. We have about another 10 minutes that we'll provide the question and answer. After that, we will conclude the Q&A. Of course, we may not answer those questions, and those questions then can be diverted to the Pilot Manga group on our Saturday AM on Facebook, and we will address those there. If you're not a member of the Pilot Manga program, I highly suggest you go to Saturday-AM.com, scroll to the bottom, click Pilot Manga, and ask to become a member. It's not a guarantee you will be a member, but we will certainly see if you can be a member from there. And once you are awarded membership, then you will have access to all the content that is in there. By the way, the rules of Pilot Manga are really simple. It's kind of like Fight Club, which comes from one of Wally's favorite creators, favorite movie directors. What happens in Pilot Manga stays in the Pilot Manga. The first rule is you don't talk about the Pilot Manga outside of the Pilot Manga. Second rule is you don't talk about the Pilot Manga program outside of Pilot Manga. If you've got an idea and you're talking about it with people in the community within Pilot Manga, you're free to do so. You're free to talk about your idea. You're free to talk about maybe getting suggestions on how to make a character better or how to make this image that you've got stronger. But you can only really feel comfortable doing that if you're convinced that people won't rip off your idea. If we get word that you are communicating about Pilot Manga outside of Saturday AM, we will kick you out of the group and ban you from that group. We want creators to feel empowered to explore their creativity at the highest level and feel in a positive group that supports and respects each creator. So, with all that being said, let's wrap this up. Key the Otaku asks a question. When you draw and improve drawing digitally, do you improve drawing with regular pencil and paper, or is it a separate thing?
Wait, what? I was thinking of your lines previously, Mr. Tyler Durden, so I was a little distracted.
Yeah, and of course I deleted the question after I asked it. Basically, they were asking, do you see? Crap, I can't remember it. Do you get, guys? This is a ghetto Q&A, but that's because I try to make it as ghetto as possible. It was something about pen and pencil, and basically, do you feel that you get more learning from drawing pen and pencil versus drawing digitally? Do you see more like areas? Do you feel that more tactile response for things that you're improving at?
Well, I'd say definitely if you want to improve your wrist control and how you control your line work, you know, where to make a thick line, where to make a thin line, and things like that. You should always go with traditional art, traditional pen and pencil. But when it comes to consistency of line art, both work fine. But the thing is, when you go when you do digitally, when you do your art digitally, you have to keep doing traditionally as well, because digital art is more like a clutch. You do it, but essentially you're looking at the screen and you're not looking at what you draw. So before long, you might actually lose the feel for actual paper, and you have to learn it all over again, just like how you learned drawing with a tablet. So I would recommend always keep up your traditional practice.
Okay. And Kaz McGamble asks, and we'll come to John. John's got some great questions. We'll come to at the very end. When making your manga, do you use a storyboard or just all in your mind? They said they personally can't grasp the idea of why they should storyboard. So Kaz was saying they really don't understand why they should have to storyboard something. But do you think you storyboard? I mean, do you storyboard what you do, Wally?
See, Capsman, storyboards are there and they are popular for a reason. They work, but you know, it doesn't work for everyone. So if they don't work for you, at least what you can do and should do is to write a script. I do, like, I don't draw storyboards, but I have scripts, and scripts work essentially the same way, where I lay out the text. I write down what's going to happen in that panel. So it's essentially like drawing a storyboard. That gives me a better sense of how the chapter goes, and you can plan out your entire chapter. When you read through your script, you'll see how it links, how it flows, and if it doesn't flow well, it doesn't flow right, you can change it before actually making the pages and wasting your time.
Okay. John asked the question here, are there anime conventions or other forms of public support for manga in Vietnam that you've participated in?
I actually did when I was 14, 15, before I left Vietnam to go to Singapore, and they sucked, man. They sucked. They were not conventions at all. And the idea of manga in Vietnam, we don't have a manga scene. We only have pirated manga books that that we pretty much downloaded from like Manga Share or MangaReader.net and then print them out and sell them for money. I know it sucks, but yeah, it's kind of like that over here. Expect this video to be shot down by the Vietnamese government pretty soon.
Jeez. All right. Shadowbounds Shinobi asks, even though your comic is drawn digitally, do you enjoy drawing traditionally, or digitally more for leisure?
I do enjoy drawing traditionally a lot, but just that it's a time thing. Right now, there's no time to actually be spending drawing on paper and then scanning it in, and then it's just not as effective.
Okay. And then let's see, it's going to be the last question in our Q&A, and then we've got obviously one more question from John, I believe. Ahmed asked, favorite food to eat while making comics manga. That's actually a neat little question.
Oh, favorite food to eat. I actually don't eat food much. I mean, look at me. But I drink a lot of tea. I drink a lot of tea.
Very cool. I actually don't eat them. I don't have to eat. All right, and then last here, so John asked a really fantastic question here in regards to his original question that tied into the test flight. And we're going to call time with the questions of this last question. Ladies and gentlemen, John Pinches, who's asked some great questions tonight, says, what advice, Wally, can you give to test flight hopefuls and manga creators, digital webcomic creators, manga creators, amateur creators in general? What advice can you give them?
Well, my best advice is to not rush yourself. Even though test flight is only lasts a month, but it doesn't mean that you can't rejoin next month. So if you think that you can't come up with your best idea, then don't rush. And make sure you get a lot of practice and get into the rhythm of doing things before you actually get into it, and not because of the like, oh, everyone's doing it, I'm so hyped, I want to do it too. That's not the spirit. The spirit is, if you actually have content, an idea that you really want to pitch and a story that you really want to tell, and it really sits right with you and it's within your elements, then go ahead with it.
That is a great answer, and that really is a fantastic coda to what has been an excellent chat. Thank everyone again, all of you guys for attending this Saturday Q&A. It has been a real pleasure to talk with Wally, and I really appreciate you guys checking out everything that we're doing with Saturday AM. Wally Nguyen, of course, will be active in the pilot manga program. I think he'll be a judge at some point, if not, obviously not this month, but perhaps next month. But certainly, do be a part of the pilot manga program if you endeavor to be a future manga creator, webcomic creator, digital artist, or do some stuff for Saturday AM Afternoon WebEx, because, again, this is a community, and I liken it to anime conventions in the United States. For those of you guys who live in the United States, anime conventions have just a great, great sense of community. It doesn't matter if you're overweight and you're trying to fit into a tiny costume, a Pikachu outfit or something like that. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or gay or straight or anything like that. The anime scene in America, the anime conventions, when you go to those conventions, I've never in my life felt such a appreciation for everybody. Everyone there digs everybody. Everyone there is, no one criticizes someone for being too tall, too skinny, too big, too fat, too whatever. And it's really, really, it's a powerful thing to see. And I want our pilot manga to be the same thing. It's like there's no criticisms there. There's no judgments. Everybody there is there because they love to create. And as long as you love to create, and as long as you really want to learn how to create better, doesn't mean that you have to endeavor to be a superstar manga creator or digital creator, but as long as you simply endeavor to do it better, and you've got people like Wally Nguyen there to offer you some insights, you can't get any better than that. So please, join that group. Please support us. Saturday AM, Saturday-am.com/subscribe/ remember, $5 gets you every issue going forward, up to 20 issues worth going forward. The latest issue is issue 12, so you'll get issue 12 immediately when you subscribe for $5. You can do so via PayPal or credit card, but you will have to pay money for it. We don't accept, like, Bitcoin or chickens or anything like that. Likewise, support our creators by buying T-shirts and/or prints. Wally will have some exclusive prints up. We do this for every Q&A. When we do our Q&A, we take the prints that our creators do that we typically sell at conventions, and we make them available for our digital audience. You will have to put your information in, or direct or email your information about where to ship the prints to. But you can see on our Facebook page, Amit bought the Apple Black print. Sent me his email, sent me his address information. It got sent out to him within a couple of days, and now he has it adorning his wall, and it's a great-looking piece. Wally's got 2 phenomenal Comatose pieces, and hopefully he'll have some new pieces up. Like I said, I believe he's got an Arrow piece we're hoping that he can finish up, and we can make that available for you guys this week. Just a recap, next weekend will be Andrea Voros, Andrea Otilia Voros of Hungary. That will be July 26th. Remember, our 13th issue of Saturday AM also will be on the July 26th, so you get a double whammy. You get the Saturday AM issue, that will include a cover by Andrea Voros featuring characters from our hit series Saigami. And then later that evening, and this is going to be a little bit earlier, by the way, so please make note that the Q&A with Andrea will be earlier in the day. It'll start at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's to make room for Andrea's schedule because she is 6 hours ahead of us. So please adjust your time if you would like to check out Andrea, whose style is totally different from Wally or White's, but she is a huge integral part of what we're doing with Saturday AM, and Saigami is extremely popular. So please join that Q&A. Check her out. But be on the lookout this week for some great new prints from Wally Nguyen. Again, I want to say thanks to Wally. Wally, any final words?
Thank you guys for checking out this Q&A and asking some great questions. It's been fun chatting with you all. And you guys can check out Comatose at www.saturday-am.com/comatose-home. And you can follow Comatose on Twitter, on twitter.com/comatosecomic. And on Facebook, I believe you can just follow Saturday AM. And subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much.
And for those of you guys who are just checking out Comatose, if you'd like to get an issue of our comic for free and be able to read one of the earlier and really great original Saturday AM chapters of Comatose, then please go onto our Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/Saturday AM. Scroll through the timeline, and we have issue number 2, which features an exclusive Wally Nguyen cover of Comatose. That issue is free. The details are there, so feel free to check it out. And all you have to do is put your email information in, and you'll be able to download it for free. That is while supplies last. That is not an unlimited amount of free codes. It's only one code that's got a limited amount of uses. So please sign up. Do not download it twice, or you will be kicked off again. But do download it. Tell your friends about it. If you've got friends who are skeptical about Saturday AM or don't know about it, tell them about it. Let them check it out, and let them check out one of the best manga that we offer, Comatose by Wally Nguyen. Thanks again, everybody. My name is Frederick Jones. I'll see you guys here next Saturday with Andrea Otilia Voros, creator of Saigami. Thanks.